A long time ago, I raised a son to know his Weissman from his Waititi.
Now we're turning our arguments into content. This is I Am Your Father, where Gen X meets Gen Z in hyperspace.
How you doing, son?
Good. In person.
Yeah, I am Graham.
I am Braden.
And we're a father and son team here. We are going to bring you generational disagreements and occasional agreements with regards to all things science fiction, superhero, pop culture in general, and kind of just movies and TV. And we haven't done music yet, but I think we should at some point.
No music yet, but we definitely can dive into it at some point.
I think we need a full Weezer episode.
A full Weezer episode.
Yeah, that's
that
right.
could be fun.
All Weezer all the time. Also, I'm just going to do a quick special shout out to your sister.
Yep, Cosette,
who graduated high school this week. Which is the occasion for why we are recording in the same room.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm excited. Congratulations, Cosette. We love you very much, and we're really proud of you.
We are.
All right. We have a main topic today. We're going to cover a couple new films that have come out this week that we went and saw, both of which we saw together.
We did.
Yeah.
This week, yes.
that is Ballerina and How to Train Your Dragon, the live action remake, really. Shot for shot, basically.
Yeah. An exact remake.
Yeah.
Basically.
But
we'll dive into it.
Yeah. And then we've got our 10 and 20 that we're going to start off with. We're going to try and this is going to be a relatively quick episode, I think. But we'll see what's going on. I just realized I never put a hat on, so I've got like freshly showered.
Me too.
Slick
Me
back
too.
hair.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We're good.
Right.
We're good. Don't worry about it.
So I apologize to all of you who tune into the podcast just to look at me. It's going to be an off week.
We're going to lose 0 viewers.
Yeah. It's time for our 10 and 20. You want to set us up here, Braden?
Yeah, absolutely. Our 10 and 20, we're going to cover 10 topics in roughly 20 minutes. Unfortunately, more likely 30 minutes based on our track record. But we got some good stuff this week, and I'll take us into number 1 right away.
All right, let's do it. Timer is rolling.
Yes, we officially have a Wonder Woman movie in the works at DC, according to James Gunn.
Yeah.
And we can discuss a little bit about it, but the main thing I'm curious about, do you have anybody in mind who you think could play this role well?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I didn't even discuss this with you beforehand. A little bit of a curveball.
Yeah. Man, it's interesting because we can't go with Marced. She's now, a hot girl. And so it's got to be, because I'm thinking that he's going to want to go.
She's way too small, too. She's very short.
Well, I guess that's true. She's not Amazonian enough.
No.
Gosh, who could it be then? I honestly don't know. I don't know that I have a pick handy.
I have one.
Good. Let me hear it.
And I'm forgetting her name now, but you'll know it. You'll know it. You
have one and you've already forgotten.
Who plays Bix in Andor?
Oh, yeah.
Adriana something.
Yeah. Let's pull it up here. But yes, I could see that for sure.
I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
I do. But how big do you think she is? I don't know that she's super tall.
No, I don't know that she's...
You're looking for height.
But I mean, Isabella Merced, I think she's like 5'4".
Yeah, no. Well, you like I said, you startled me with this pick. The Adria Arjona.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that could be interesting, but that's just a fan cast. Who knows if we'll actually go that direction.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he casts somebody from Guardians or something like that. He loves to do that.
Yeah, that's
cast
interesting.
His old pals.
Yeah. But well, what do you feel about the fact that he's going back to Wonder Woman already? Are you ready to say goodbye to Gal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have been for a little while, I think. I liked her initially, and then I think it kind of just got a little exhausted as time went on. Some of the later projects.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you can't really rebuild the DC universe without having a Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman.
I agree.
He loves the obscure characters. He loves the, the creature commandos and the new gods, but you can't have a DC universe without your Trinity.
The big three. Yeah. Well, hopefully it comes out good. I'm looking forward to it. I do think that the first Wonder Woman really deserves some big props. It was
good.
It was a solid film. It was a legit hit. Probably the only hit that they had in the DC universe.
Kind of universally appreciated for sure.
Yeah. So, all right. Topic number 2. James Gunn says he's already working on a follow-up to Superman, though not a straight-up sequel, assuming that this film makes a certain amount of money.
Which Superman. It will. It's already based on the ticket sales already. It's going to do phenomenal. Yeah. It's tracking to earn like something like 300 million opening weekend or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely going to be crazy. I think it's going to do much better than Fantastic Four, in my opinion. That's my prediction.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of Superman fans really excited to be excited about Superman again, in a way that they maybe haven't been in a really long time. That includes the Zack Snyder movies. So I think it'll do really well. I think it's interesting. This feels a lot like Batman versus Superman, where it's a Man of Steel sequel, but not really, But I doubt we're going to go that direction. Maybe we're going to get a Superman Batman team up movie, like a, what do they call it? World's Finest or something like that. Or a Superman Supergirl follow up. I have no idea really, but
Since that's in the works as well.
But they seem pretty confident in what they've already worked on. So I think it's exciting. I'm actually optimistic.
This will be the fourth movie Superman alone in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And that doesn't cover various TV shows. At least two live action TV shows as well.
Yeah, at least. I think closer to like 4.
You think? Really? Is that? What am I missing? What am I forgetting? I mean, I'm thinking about Smallville, and I'm thinking about Lois and Clark. But I guess there's another Lois and Clark kind of thing that's come out recently. I haven't seen a single episode of
Superman and Lois. Yeah,
Superman and Lois. They just flipped. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Well, you mentioned a Marvel film in there as well. Why don't we move on to a topic that's a little closer to the Marvel world, though? This one, obviously, not Marvel.
Yeah, with the Russo brothers working on their live-action Hercules remake for Disney, it is being reported, not necessarily confirmed, but just reported that they're more interested in telling a story called Hades rather than Hercules. A retelling similar to maybe Maleficent in an interesting way. I mean, I'm here for it, I guess. I like the Russo brothers' Marvel work, but nothing else really. We'll see how it goes. But I will say Maleficent, one of the better live-action remakes, and that's because it's a full reimagining.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of a origin story.
Yeah,
for the villain. So it's like you said, it's rethinking. I don't think you can put it up against the other live action remakes.
You really can't. It's kind of cheap. But I really like the Hercules animated movie. So naturally, I'm nervous because these live action remakes, which we'll dive into a little later with How to Train Your Dragon, they rarely justify their own existence. So
yeah. Now I'm curious because since the animation film, the story has gone on to be a big Broadway hit as well with the Hercules musical.
Yeah.
The Russo brothers, to me, it wouldn't be outside of the realm of possibility for them to literally do a musical. I haven't read too much about what this remake is, and now that they're talking about wanting to name it Hades and go down the path of that character, do we know? I mean, you're saying it's a live action adaptation, but is it really an adaptation of the Hercules animation, or are they going down their own path?
I mean, it seems like they're trying to go down their own path. I think maybe Disney originally approached them to remake Hercules, the animated movie, and I think maybe they're not really jiving with that and want to make it their own thing, which I respect. I'd rather them take a swing and miss than play it super safe, and just give us.
You are not in favor of a shot-for-shot remake of the Hercules animation?
Probably not.
I had a feeling. Okay. Alien Romulus, a film that you and I both really love. They've just announced that they're going into production soon, this fall, for a follow-up there. I'm excited. I enjoyed that movie a lot. It definitely has flaws. It's not a perfect film, but it's a good, solid Alien movie, and for my money, it's 3 in a row after a few tough ones. I think the last 3 Alien movies have all been really solid, which makes it, if you add those 3 and you put the first 2 in, 5 out of 7 is a pretty solid success rate.
Is that what it is? If you're excluding the Alien versus Predator movies,
I'm excluding
which
those.
you should.
You should. Those. I think they have to think they have to be their own thing.
Yeah, 5 out of 7. I'd agree with you.
Yeah,
I think
5 out of 7 are super good.
Though you are a 3 apologist, but
there are aspects of it that I like, but it is there are times when it's nearly unwatchable. The visual effects just don't come close to holding up. It seems like it feels today like it was done on like a 1990s toaster.
Yeah. But I really enjoy Romulus. I really, really do like that movie. I thought it was great. Really fun movie to see in theaters. And so I am excited about a sequel. I don't know exactly what they'll do, but I'm kind of the opinion, keep making Alien content because I really like it.
Yeah, I like that the universe is expanding for us now in a different way. And I'm pumped right now personally for Alien Earth. I'm super curious about it. I think that the newer trailers have really got me even more excited.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'll take us into 5 real quick.
Okay.
Stranger Things Season 5. Trailer released at the Netflix Tudum event, whatever it was. I think it was the very last thing they released. And they also announced the schedule. The release schedule would be Volume 1 comes out November 26th, Volume 2 December 25th, and Volume 3 December 31st. So all holidays or right before holidays.
They know.
Did you watch the trailer?
I think I did. This is the one. It was just like shots from previous seasons mostly, wasn't it?
90%, yeah. 90%.
I think I might have stopped watching it halfway through because like this is a dumb teaser.
Yeah.
They're not actually giving me anything, so I think I aborted.
Would that not be?
I pulled the TIE fighter up out of the trench.
Would that not be a decent teaser though? I mean, it's basically saying, "Hey, here's what's coming. We'll give you like 10 to 15 seconds of footage, but other than that, we're just gonna remind you why you like this show."
I think they could have been more creative than that. Versus going all the other way and showing us way too much about the season. It's so to me, you run into those old trailers. Sometimes you go like onto YouTube or something. You try and find an old trailer for a movie that you want to watch,
and it's just a scene.
And it's just so that's bad too. But what I was going to say is some of the old school trailers, they like spend so much time talking about the previous films that the movie maker had made and was like, if you loved Gremlins, it shows like a scene from and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and like half the trailer is shots from other movies, and it's like, then the writer's second cousin got involved in this film. So those are really bad, and then I think just like the flashback ones that just show you everything you already know. I don't know.
Side note,
I would have liked a little more.
Fair enough. Side note, I will say real quick before we move on, I think that the trailer for season 2 of Stranger Things, this is very obscure, but the trailer for season 2 of Stranger Things is one of the best trailers I've ever seen for anything. I think it's really good. When we're done recording, I'm going to have you watch it and tell me what you think.
I'll take a look.
That's one of the trailers that's stuck with me since I've seen it, which is interesting. So,
cool.
But you're right. This one kind of sucked.
Yeah, but I am excited about the season. I think it's good. We need this. We need closure on this. The kids are
finally.
The
kids aren't kids.
They're grandparents, I think, at this point. So and how do you feel about the whole like 5 movies scenario or however many it is?
Like how many episodes?
Yeah,
and how they're all super long.
They're all basically movie length.
I think it didn't really work in season 4. At least not for me. Season 4 was my least favorite. And every episode, or most of the episodes in season 4 are like an hour and a half to 2, to maybe even 2.5 hours at one point. I'm not necessarily against that specifically if they do it right, but I've appreciated the other seasons of Stranger Things more than season 4. But like you said, we need closure. They've taken so long on this season, and they're really amping it up.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that it's going to be really epic in its finale, and I hope they do really well with it. But I'm a little nervous because season 4 was not my favorite.
Okay, fair enough. We also had this week the trailer for Wicked for Good that has dropped, and I think it both looks good, and I find myself a little let down with it at the same time. I think mostly it's the music that's concerning me at this point. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a conversation recently about not really loving or even remembering the second act of Wicked.
A lot of the music, yeah.
Yeah, music and even a lot of what happens. And I think Wicked is definitely strongest in its first act.
Yeah.
And the way the first act closes is basically one of the greatest endings to anything.
It's epic.
Right? It's amazing. So for that reason, I'm nervous. Like, how are they going to do anything even close to that in the second one, in the second act? The trailer, it looks good. Visually, it looks good. And performance-wise, it looks good. I know I'm going to like it. I'm going to see it. I'm invested at this point, but I'm nervous that it won't ever reach the heights of the first act.
Yeah. I think a potential tip of the hat that they might need to fill a little bit is the high frequency that we saw Dorothy and the Tin Man and the lion and everything. Like they pop up quite a bit in this trailer, and they're not actually in the sequel. I mean, in Act 2.
They are.
Really?
Kind of. Like, you don't see their faces.
No, I mean, like the origins of them are revealed, but them literally like coming to see the wizard as a foursome.
I don't know about that part, but I do believe we witnessed Dorothy throwing water on Elphaba. I'm pretty sure that happens.
Fair enough. I've seen it like 3 times, but for some reason now, I guess, is this the problem with Act 2?
I think it is.
I can barely remember it.
I agree. This is the problem with Act 2, in my opinion.
I mean, it does have For Good, which they've named the sequel. That's a great song, but doesn't have the epic nature of Defying Gravity.
No, not even close. Nothing does.
Oh, that's probably true. All right, you got the next one?
Yeah, Fantastic Four. Tickets went on sale, and the premiere of the tickets crashed Fandango, Regal, and AMC. This is transporting me back to a time when Marvel was extremely relevant and exciting. I mean, even just with No Way Home, I actually have a memory of trying to get tickets for No Way Home and being so pissed because I'm refreshing the computer and it's just down. It's not working. It's a frustrating feeling, but also exciting feeling. You feel like you're part of something a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
I think Fantastic Four is going to be a really fun time, and I think this is a great indication that a lot of people are excited for it.
Yeah. But you said before you think that Superman will outgross it.
I do.
Yeah.
I think Superman's going to have a different audience. I think Fantastic Four is going to pull on, the already existing MCU fans and Marvel fans,
Pedro Pascal fans.
Yep, that too. But it's going to pull on the people who have already been seeing these movies for the most part. Then there's going to be some Fantastic Four fans that come out of the woodworks. But Superman is different. Superman is, at least in the top 3 superheroes of all time in terms of popularity across the entire world, right? And there are Superman fans. I think there are more diehard Superman fans than there are diehard Fantastic Four fans, is what I'm saying. And I think that they're going to be
true.
I think all those people are going to really take this movie to the next level when it comes to the box office. That's just my theory. I think a lot more people are going to come out of the woodworks for Superman than they are for Fantastic Four.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. Well, hopefully they've got it all fixed and we can get our pre-sale tickets soon.
Yeah. Well, I actually got them.
Oh, there you go.
They picked them back up, but they got it working again, but it wasn't working at first.
You're much better at doing the pre-sale tickets. I luckily live near
on the edge.
No, I just I feel like my local theater never sells out, hardly ever. I mean, it's been a really long time. It's like 5-6 years. I can't remember a time when any of the movies that we want to talk about have come out and I went to get a ticket in it and it was just not a possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, it's usually, I usually have some good options.
That is a post-COVID
it
movie
is.
theater
It is
world,
probably,
though.
yeah,
So.
For sure. Going back to Wicked a little bit, we've got some Ariana Grande news. We have heard now that she's cast in Meet the Parents 4. Are we excited to see her act again?
I think so. I think she's really good in Wicked.
I did too.
I actually think she's sneakily the best part of Wicked.
Yeah.
She's very, very good.
I agree. I think she stole the film.
And even just seeing her back on screen in the trailer for Wicked for Good got me excited. And I was like, oh yeah, I actually really love this performance. And so I think she's has good comedic timing, and this is obviously a comedy, so I think it'll give her a chance to shine a little bit, and hopefully in what will likely not be a very good movie, she can give a good performance.
I'm too old to have known her. I don't even Nickelodeon work. Was it Nickelodeon
or Disney?
Disney, one of the two. I don't know which one it is. I don't even know. So I never saw that. So really, my first exposure to her was as a pop singer, not as an actor. So I definitely found myself pretty surprisingly impressed with how good of an actor she actually is and what her comic timing is. So her in a straight comedy should be good.
Yeah.
I don't like these movies. I got to tell you, I don't like the Meet the Parents films. They give me so much anxiety. This sort of type of script where it's just like the guy who doesn't actually do anything wrong, but everything wrong happens to him nonstop.
It's horrible.
It's basically Ben Stiller's like one of his favorite characters to play, that guy that everything happens to.
Just makes your stomach turn.
It does.
Yeah.
I don't know how to handle it. It drives me nuts. So I'm not saying it's a bad film. I'm saying I have a bad reaction to it.
I get it. I have a thing about movies where people are accused of something that they're actually innocent of. Like this is a very hard storyline for me, and so even though played as a comedy, it's hard to watch. It's like, no, he's not doing it, but of course he's being blamed for it.
Yeah, parents in turmoil having their children abducted. Just I don't need to see this. I don't want to watch this.
Which, by the way, has no correlation to Meet the Parents.
It doesn't. Oh, okay.
Just to be clear.
Yeah, it could have though. They could be taking it a whole new direction.
Who knows? Maybe.
Yeah. All right, we are down to 2 topics left. One of them is in the Star Wars universe. Our friend Mark Hamill, who we just saw in a trailer for The Walk.
Yep.
Long Walk?
Long Walk, I think.
By Stephen King. But Mark Hamill has been doing some various interviews at which he is saying he is never returning as Luke Skywalker. And this is getting I think a surprising amount of press. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a good thing.
That he's done with the character.
For a few reasons. One, obviously, he's very old now. I don't know that he's really in a place to play Luke Skywalker super well anymore. Especially the version of Luke Skywalker a lot of people want to see.
Yeah, I think he'd be a little closer to playing Yoda.
Yeah, but I definitely think, I mean, his reasoning, like what he has said for his reasoning is reasoning I appreciate. And it's time to move on from the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
It's time to spend time with other families and
for
other
a while.
people. No, yeah, absolutely. And so I agree. And he's obviously on record a lot saying that he hates the sequels and he hated playing Luke in the sequels and everything they did to his character. I actually don't mind what they did to Luke in the sequels. I think it was actually some of the most interesting stuff they've done in Star Wars.
There was some stuff I gotta go on the other side of that. There were definitely some things in the sequels that they did with Luke Skywalker that really bothered me.
Like what?
That I didn't love. I hated the idea that he would just be like when he throws the lightsaber over his shoulder. Like
for sure,
that just absolutely drove me nuts. That makes no sense to me at all. The other piece of it is like he was just so over the top reluctant. I don't know. I just didn't buy it the whole time. It wasn't my favorite.
I don't think they did it the best, but I think the concept of it was interesting to me, and I kind of like the Hermit Luke, but I agree. In execution, it wasn't perfect.
I could have lived with Hermit Luke, but I think that he should have been a little bit more monk-like,
For sure. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I'm good with him not coming back as Luke. I'm good with not really seeing Luke too much more. Maybe if they want to do some animated form, something like that could work.
You're not in the Sebastian Stan should take up the mantle conversation?
No, I'm not huge on the idea of a current actor playing a character at the same age he already was, played by another actor. I think that's strange.
It would be weird.
It would be weird if they cast somebody to play a younger Luke. That'd be different, and even I don't think they should do that at all. I could understand a different voice in an animated project. They did that a lot in the Clone Wars and Rebels, but no, nobody else needs to play live action Luke unless they're just going to make it look like Mark Hamill.
I think there's only so far you can go with that.
Right. Yeah. As they have figured out, I think.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll take us into our last topic to close us out. Thunderbolts has apparently lost money, which is really kind of a bummer because it's been one of the better Marvel movies in a long time, and it just did not perform as well as they hoped. I remember a lot of talk leading up to it. Is this movie going to make $1 billion? Didn't even get close. Not even close. People were so far off. So it needed to make $425 million to break even. And so far, it's still in theaters, but at this point, it's barely making anything. So far, it's only made $377 million. So that's a decent loss. That's about a $50 million loss on this movie.
Just to break even?
Just to break even, yeah. So they didn't profit at all, which I think is a bummer. I like this movie a lot.
I did too. And it seemed like a lot of people did as well, and that it was getting a lot of good press. People were talking about it. There was good word of mouth. But I guess it's a different world, and Marvel's gonna have to figure this out. And because if they have to do $1 billion just for them to make a profit, it's not gonna work.
No, I can't even tell you how many headlines I was reading beforehand or before this episode, just kind of doing a little research on how much money all these various movies needed to make to break even. And I just kind of like, at what point did it start costing $450 million to make every movie coming out this summer? Like,
Yeah, a little while ago.
It's ridiculous. It's just, yeah. But then again, they make cheaper movies and they have like about a 10% chance of it being successful with the audience climate today. Not too many people are going to see lower budget movies as often as they were beforehand.
Well, I mean, I think there's one exception to that, and that's lower budget horror. Still rings the cash register.
And that's about it.
Yeah.
That's really about it. So it's a little disappointing. There's some studios doing better than others, like A24 and whatnot. But yeah, I agree. I don't think we need to keep spending $500 million on every movie coming out in the summer or winter time.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, we got through our 10. I think we only did about 24 minutes. Who knows? Something like that range.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. So should we get into our main topics?
I think so. Yeah, our main topics today are going to be Ballerina and How to Train Your Dragon, the live-action remake. We can start with Ballerina because that's what we watched first. And we can kind of just share our overall thoughts, hit a few different points, give our ratings and rankings for it and whatnot. Were you excited for this movie? Like when it got announced?
Yeah, I was excited. One, I thought be interesting to see how they spin off from John Wick. And they'd already set up the Roma Ruska Roma, whichever it is. I always flip that back and forth. But they already set that up. The concept of the ballerinas was there for us to imagine and try and figure out what exactly was going on with that. I'm sure that there's books and other things that are happening that have filled in some more of the backstory that I'm not aware of. But in terms of the film, I definitely wanted to see that. And I like Ana de Armas quite a bit. I think she's really good. I think she's engaging. Most of what she does on the screen I really like. So this was a good marriage to me.
Yeah. I think I've only seen her in Knives Out and 007, James Bond. But she was really good in both of those. And I felt like her performance in No Time to Die was kind of, leading up to this performance, just as somewhat of an assassin or special agent of some sort.
At least physically, yeah.
Physically, right. Yeah. And I thought she was really good in that, so I was excited for this. And, I love the John Wick movies. I'll always watch them because, if nothing else, they're just amazing action and a lot of fun. So I was also excited for this. I was a little disappointed how much they were revealing Keanu beforehand. I would have liked it a lot more had that been a reveal in the movie, but I understand they have to get the people in the theater, and that is a big way to do so. Is know that you're going to get to see more John Wick, more Baba Yaga.
I would have gone either way,
right? Me too.
But I know that that's probably not the reality, and they I'm sure were worried. There's enough of the population that's anti-female inclusion into any of these types of genres as well. So I'm sure they had a bit of them that were thinking like, are we going to get guys to show up to see Ana de Armas rather than Keanu Reeves? So let's squeeze Keanu Reeves in there.
Yeah,
I think
that's interesting.
I think it's all a frustrating reality that the marketing team felt like they had to do that, but I get it. And I don't think it's tracked super well, unfortunately.
No. It has underperformed somewhat. I know it needs to make, I think, around 120 million, and it's only made about 75 so far, which sounds like, it's close. But they kind of rely on that opening week/weekend to really get them to the break-even point, if not past it, because it'll keep making money, but it's got a lot of competition this summer, and it's really going to start to taper off a little bit. So I'm hoping it at least breaks even, because I thought it was good. I thought it was plenty enjoyable. I have some nitpicks with it, and we can dive into that in a minute, but just like, I need people to go see movies like this.
Yeah.
We talk about how much we love John Wick. We gotta go and support, so they keep making them for us,
I would definitely see another Ballerina.
Absolutely, I would too. I think they even, spoiler alert, set up a little bit of a sequel there. It ended very similar to John Wick 2, where it's just basically bounty on her head and she runs off,
Yeah.
And so it's right there. It's if they make the sequel, it's gonna pick up and it's gonna be nonstop from beginning to end again. So I'm here for it. I hope maybe it'll have another surge. I doubt it, but I hope it doesn't discourage them from making another one. I think there's an interesting story to tell there.
How do you feel like the film franchise kept going or progressed with the first time we've now had a new director in the seat?
I think it meshed really well.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're not going to watch this movie and really feel like, oh, that's very different guy, very different style. It feels very similar. I actually didn't even realize, hadn't really thought about it, I guess, but I didn't realize that it was a different director than the John Wick movies. So
yeah,
I think he very adequately fit himself into the franchise, into the vibe of the franchise. Not perfectly, but also not the worst. So
Yeah.
I think it worked well.
Yeah. Well, he has a few good action films under his belt. He did a couple of The Underworld. He was the first director in that series.
Okay.
And I think really created that series as well. So at least he even executive produced the rest of them. But I think he directed at least 2 of them. So, yeah, I think it worked out all right.
Yeah, I agree. How did you feel about the lead performance from Ana de Armas?
I loved it. I thought she was really good. And I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. You know, I think it was good.
Yeah.
She was believable doing the action. I guess my biggest nitpick was I felt like they couldn't decide if she was going to be the assassin with compassion, and she went back and forth between like sparing people and then just like absolutely brutally murdering them.
Yeah.
In ways where their just entire bodies explode on screen.
It's almost like there was another cut
Yeah,
of the script
exactly.
originally.
Like I'm not quite sure I understood the point of, especially in her first mission, where I understood the point of why she was sparing people. I know she was given the rubber bullets, but that seemed almost more like a test to see if she could survive. So that was a part where I felt like it was a little uneven, but I don't know that that's necessarily her fault. But generally speaking, I bought her, and there were only a few scenes where I wish it would have a little bit better. In fact, I think that the first scene with her and Keanu could have been a little bit better. I didn't.
Yeah, I think there were just a few scenes, like you said, a few scenes where I wasn't super buying it, but for the most part, like I'd say 98% of the movie, I thought she was really good, delivered a great performance, and I'll just touch on the action real quick, or at least the stunt work. I know she did plenty of her own stuff. They all do the training for these movies.
Yeah.
And if they were fitting stunt doubles in there a lot, it wasn't noticeable. It really felt like it was her the whole time, which is something that I really appreciate about good action. Is not too many cutaways, not too many, shots of the back of the head.
Yeah.
I thought in that sense, I think she really nailed it when it came to the training for the movie. So she was able to do a lot of what she needed to do to make it look as real as it could.
I think there was only one scene. I don't even remember which scene it was, but there was only one scene where I felt like maybe I was conscious of a stunt double cutting in and out. It's probably pretty a good sign that they were able to keep my eyes to only one scene. But and I could even be wrong. I don't know.
It just felt like it.
Yeah, it just kind of felt like it a little bit.
What about Norman Reedus?
Like oddly underused. I didn't get it. I think the casting was distracting.
Yeah.
He basically just is Daryl. He looks like Daryl.
Yep.
He comes in. So I mean, they didn't even bother to change the look of the character. He comes in. He's it appears as if he's killed. Within 5 minutes. One scene, and then
within 5 minutes and very little action.
Yeah,
by the way.
Almost nothing. And so, but it seemed odd that would really happen. So I think both you and I, when we came out of the theater, we both said, we obviously knew that we were going to come back to him at the end. There's no point in casting him if you're going to just like kill him off in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was strange.
Yeah, and unless you're going for some kind of shock value, and if you're going to do that, then you would have made it much more agonizing.
But yeah, exactly. Because the way they did it, you were also like, is he dead? It wasn't even super clear that they were even trying to make us believe he was dead. I wasn't really sure what was going on when that happened. So yeah, it's strange casting for them to use him the way they did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he'll show back up in, the sequel or the spinoff or the prequel or something.
Yeah.
But I agree. Strange casting for very little use. But
yeah. I think it's one of the weakest parts of the film.
Yeah, I agree.
Just primarily because of the distraction of it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about John Wick for a minute.
Okay.
He's back. Not really. I mean, it's a prequel. So he's not dead. He's alive.
3.5, John Wick 3.5.
I think 3.5. Yeah, and is he just one of the coolest characters ever? I mean, I get chills every time somebody calls him the Baba Yaga.
Yeah,
it gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Every time.
They did it good in this one too.
It is
They
a
did
good
it twice, and they did it good. Yeah, it was well done.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah.
Very, very well done.
Yeah, I like John Wick a lot myself. He's a lot of fun. I thought it was funny too that you and I were talking about which one of the series we liked most, and you were saying your complaint about 4 was a little too much of the.
A little too much
jacket. Pull
yeah.
the jacket up, will cover my face, and the first action sequence we see him in, the very
Just
first
immediate. The first thing he does, blocks the bullets.
blocks the bullets
jacket.
with his jacket.
Yeah, no, yeah. I love him being back in this movie. I mean, I don't feel like it really took away from the ballerina. I don't feel like in any way it subtracted from her in this movie.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it didn't subtract from him either. It didn't depower him. It didn't make him. It didn't make her more capable than him in any way. I really enjoyed their sequence together where they're fighting, and I mean, I guess I use that term kind of lightly. She was fighting, and he was just kind of, toying with her in a way, but not playing games with her, but just avoiding her, like disarming her in every way. I really appreciated that she basically wasn't able to touch him. There was one time she tackled him through a wall as he was not looking at her, and within about 2 seconds, she gets thrown about twice as far through the same wall right back. And so I think they found a really great way to incorporate him, show what she's capable of throughout the entire movie, but then remind us, but this is the Baba Yaga. Like, he's not anywhere near her. She's not there yet. Maybe one day, but right now he's the man. He's always been the man. He'll stay the man.
I'm really glad that they did that. It was noticeable, but it wasn't over the top. It was subtle. If you knew the characters and you were paying attention, you could tell, oh, okay, he's stopping her from killing him, but he's not trying to kill her right now. He's trying. He's trying to get her to leave with him and let this go. And obviously he could take her down really quickly if he wanted to. Yeah. Because he's, like you said, because he's John Wick. So I'm really glad that they gave us that they treated us with that level of intelligence and respect as an audience to not try and amp her up so much by pulling him down, because that's exactly what it would have done.
Which is something frustrating that they do in plenty of movies. It's like, this character's been your favorite forever. We've always said he's the best. Until there's this brand new character that we're just not introducing, and they can beat him. I don't like when they do that. I like a little bit of a journey with the character. So I think that was one of my favorite parts of the movie, just because I think it was awesome. I think it was really cool. And and I even like his performance. He's, he gives such an interesting performance. Keanu, he almost sounds wooden always. Yeah. But it works in John Wick for me. Just where consequences, just he just always talks exactly the same.
It's definitely some version of him.
Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. So I really appreciated that. I even liked the ending where he calls the lady and he's like, "It's done," and she's like, "She's dead." He's dead, and it's always cheesy, but it's always fun. I love some John Wick. Love some Baba Yaga. Yeah. And how do you feel that this movie balanced the story and the action? Do you think they found the right balance for this kind of a movie?
I think they did. I think it wasn't too story heavy, and that's something that we don't necessarily want out of John Wick. So a John Wick film. It was mostly action. There was, the last, probably 45 minutes of the film is just the one village and her kind of progressing through like a game, different levels until she gets to the boss. And partway through she has to deal with John Wick and all this other stuff. So it didn't feel like they were giving us too many plot points to have to worry about. There weren't any MacGuffins. There weren't any, it was just, pretty straightforward. And I think that's where John Wick is at its best, is when it's pretty straightforward. Yeah. Like John Wick 1. The plot's about as simple as you can get.
Yeah. Well, this one's very simple too. And I would actually say that one of my nitpicks about the movie is, as simple as this plot is, there's at least one scene I can think of that made me roll my eyes, where they were holding our hand, and I'm like, this is really easy to follow.
Oh yeah,
and I remember there's the scene where the beginning of the movie, she looks at the guy, one of the dead guys who
Yeah.
tried to kill her dad, and he has the mark, the cross
The
or the
X or
X on
whatever it
his
is, yeah.
on his wrist. And then about 10 to 15 minutes later in the movie, she kills somebody. She sees that same mark on his wrist, and they believe that we've forgotten by now. And so they cut back
know.
to her memory of it and then right back. And
I
I'm
know.
like, oh, come on.
I
I think we could have figured that one out.
I know. I think I elbowed you, and I was like, I didn't forget. Come on.
Right. I know that was a bit of a bummer. And my only other complaint, legitimately my only other complaint is the flamethrowers lost me a little bit. I didn't find them as exciting as maybe I was supposed to at that point. That was kind of where it crossed over into an area where it's like, okay, this is a little too cartoonish now for me. And don't get me wrong, these movies are very cartoonish in their violence, but they're really cool,
Yeah.
and this for me, I didn't know where the line was for me, but I think I found it when the flamethrower sequence went on for 7 minutes.
Yeah, definitely a few too many minutes on that. But I think otherwise it was good. And I think each of these John Wick films has 2 to 3 fight sequences where they seems like they're trying to limit the or like focus on one particular weapon type.
Yeah.
Whether it's they're in a room full of knives.
Totally.
So everyone's throwing knives at each other, or
They gotta have their shtick for
right.
sure.
And in 4, we've got the scene with the explosive shotgun rounds, and
Yeah, that's true.
And there's other scenes where you have that, right? In this, we had 2 really distinct ones. You had the grenade sequence where she's got a room full of weapons and she only takes grenades, and then she uses them in various creative ways to take down the opponents for 5 minutes. Same thing happens later on. So it seems really clear to me that they were like, okay, what are our thing? What are our 2 things? What's she going to do different?
But to me, the grenade sequence kind of made sense, right? She's in like this very tight setting, and she's basically just being able to throw them around corners and duck for cover, and she's taking everybody out. For me, when it comes to the flamethrower, and you have 3 people with rifles standing across the street, I'm like, how does this make sense? Nobody's shooting her. They're just they're not shooting her. They're just getting hit with fire.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's I think part of why it didn't work as well is that I was finding myself. I don't like stupid villains or henchmen.
Yeah.
I don't like the ones that just stand there and get hit, or the ones that swing at nothing.
Yeah.
Or wait back for their turn to jump in.
Well, that's why the big blonde guy, grabbed himself a flamethrower. So because he wasn't stupid,
He wasn't stupid. You're right.
Realized.
Well, then let me ask you this. We'll wrap it up a little bit here. Where do you think this ranks in your franchise of the John Wick movies?
That's really hard. In fact, when we talked about it right after the film, I even had trouble ranking my John Wick films.
Yeah.
I feel like, with exception of probably 2, which is to me maybe the weakest of the whole franchise, I think that, or is it 3? Now, see, I can't even remember.
It's 2.
It's 2. Yeah, it is 2. 2 is, I think, the weakest of the franchise. Outside of that, though, 1, 3, and 4 all like flip around for me. There's ways that 3 and 4 take things to a new level that are pretty great. But there's also something really fantastic about the simplicity of 1.
Yeah. Totally.
So it's hard for me to judge. I'm going to have to say that it's either 3rd or 4th on my list.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I'd probably have it at 3rd or 4th as well. I'm not super sure where, because like you said, it's a franchise that kind of cycles around depending on what you've seen most recently.
There aren't any low lows.
No. I agree.
Even
2 is still great.
It's still great.
It's still a lot of
just
fun.
The weakest of the.
And for me, I would agree with you. I think for me, it's 1 and 3 at the top, and 1 is amazing because it started it all. It's so simple, and you spend like the first 20 to 30 minutes with just like this. The introduction of John Wick as the boogeyman in a really great way, where most of it is just hearing about him in a really menacing way. And I think it's one of my favorite character introductions ever, at least in terms of like you meet John Wick, but then you really meet John Wick. And I think it's really cool. Similar to kind of how they did in Nobody, kind of the poor man's John Wick.
Yeah.
And then 3 just hits such high highs in terms of the action. Like, it's nonstop. It has some of the greatest action sequences, I think, in my opinion. So they're hard to compare because they kind of evolved. But I think this is a really fun franchise, and I think that Ballerina just kind of fit itself perfectly right into the middle somewhere. And that's good because a lot of people thought it was going to be lower end. You know, John Wick is really loved. So the fact that it was able to sit middle of the pack, I think is impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you rate it on Letterboxd?
I think I gave it a 3.
3 out of 5.
Yeah. And, to me, that's probably solid. I rate most things a 3 or lower. But I think if I like a movie, but it doesn't like blow me away, it's probably going to get a 3. But there are times when I go back and I look at some of my 3s and I'm like, that should have been higher.
Yeah.
I oftentimes don't necessarily think, oh, that should have been lower, but
You're a little stingy at first.
yeah,
That's
I'm a little
fair.
stingy at first. Sometimes
That's
I
fair.
need a couple more viewings on certain films to bump them up into the 4s.
So
But yeah, I think this was solidly a 3.
your 3 is my 3.5. That's
You figure right now we're close enough. We're half star off each other.
yeah, I think so. I mean, what you just described is like, I liked that movie, but it didn't blow me away. That's basically my 3.5 star. And so that's actually where I have it as well. I have, well, not 3. I have it at 3.5 out of 5. But I just basically agree with you on everything you just said. I thought it was really fun, but there was nothing that I was at no point during the movie where was I like, oh yeah, now it's a 4. You know,
Yeah.
I was waiting for that moment.
Yeah.
And or that series of moments, but for me, it's just a really fun action movie
Yeah.
with some fun performances. And if you ever just want mindless violence, this will be a good movie for you.
I think I did at one point, literally with one of the kills, literally go, oh, like
There's a
she
few
got
of
me.
them.
Yeah, in
There's
this
a few
one.
of them.
There's definitely, but the that one where she like pulls the guy over the table and like uses the back of the table to shield herself from the grenade going off, and he just basically like explodes into a pair of boots.
Yeah, that one was good. There's the one where she hangs him over the wall, and
Yeah.
the same thing happens. And then there's also one earlier on in the movie. She like throws him through the car window. Then he turns around and just chucks the hatchet at his face. And I remember literally jumping like, oh crap, okay,
Yeah.
his face is gone.
Yeah, and so that was part of the weird part because that scene happened with that scene happened
Right after she wasn't killing anybody.
Right after she put the hammer into the ice and didn't take the guy down.
Yep.
It was like, what just happened? It was a massive jump,
Yeah.
So I wasn't quite sure what they were trying to do with that.
But overall, thumbs up.
Yeah, overall, definitely
Thumbs up. Would recommend. All right.
Would recommend.
You want to take us into our next movie?
Yeah, we also went down the rabbit hole with How to Train Your Dragon, the live action remake. I actually haven't put my rating in on this yet.
No, you haven't.
Yeah, but have you done it yet? What do you think? What was your general thoughts on this film?
I liked it. For reference, I've seen all the animated ones, but I rewatched the animated version last night, 2 nights ago. So the day before we saw the live action, and I was reminded, I was like, this is to me a perfect animated movie. I would give How to Train Your Dragon a 5 out of 5 for what it is. And I really, really enjoy that movie. For me, the live action remake, I'll just dive into it. I gave it a 3 stars. So a little lower than what you were describing earlier. For me, a 3-star, it was good. Perfectly enjoyable. But I don't know that I'll ever feel the desire to really revisit it. And there's a few reasons for that, which I'll touch on. But overall, I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. I just have issues with it really existing for the most part. Because, I mean, it was perfectly fine. It was perfectly enjoyable. But why would I ever watch that when there's a much better version of that same thing for me to watch? And in less time. Save me another half hour.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they attempted to do very little differently,
Right.
in this, outside of recasting the look and feel of certain characters.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it really was done pretty much shot for shot.
Yeah.
Line for line. I mean, it was like you said, it almost just seemed like a lesser valued production, or lesser quality production of a better show, a better movie.
Yeah, and so that's an interesting topic. Is we have our reimaginings like Maleficent,
Right.
and Cruella, and then we have our live action remakes like The Lion King and Cinderella and Lilo and Stitch, which are not even close to shot for shot. They're somewhere in between a retelling and a remake. And then I'd say that this movie might be the first live action remake that is nearly shot for shot the same.
Yeah.
Like they basically reanimated the movie is what they did. And I have kind of always been one of the people who would watch these other movies, other than maybe the reimaginings, because I like Cruella and I like Maleficent. But in terms of the remakes, I've kind of said, you know what, maybe these would be better if they just stuck to what existed before, you know? And now we've seen that, and I'm still not really loving it. And I'm like, you know what, maybe what the issue is the live action remakes, period.
That they just shouldn't do it.
They just shouldn't do it because they've tried it a few ways now. And this was maybe the last way they could have really tried it, at least as a blueprint moving forward. And I still didn't think it was super great. At least it wasn't better, you know? And so for me, I think I'm just at a point with the remakes where I'm like, I don't know that it's worth it anymore. I don't know that it's working. I don't know. I mean, other than maybe showing it to a new generation, but I don't know why. Just show them the animated version, you know?
Yeah, most of these must make some level of profit because they just keep coming back to the well, especially Disney, over and over and over and over again. I mean,
they do.
You listed 5 or 6, but there's a dozen more of these, and
a few of them have made over $1 billion.
Yeah, so they're waiting for that. But I otherwise think that other than just trying to engage fans and exploit their love for the original, you know, they're definitely making enough money or they wouldn't keep doing this.
Right. No, absolutely. And that's why it's a cash grab, you know?
I mean, we've had 3 this year alone, right?
Something like, well, Lilo and Stitch, How to Train Your Dragon, what's the
Snow
third one?
White.
Snow White. Yeah. Which I didn't see. So
I didn't either.
I forgot.
But that's just this year alone.
And Lilo and Stitch is on track to make $1 billion right now.
Yeah.
And I bet you that How to Train Your Dragon. So it just opened this weekend. So we don't really have numbers yet.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you it makes just a crap ton of money.
Yeah.
It's going to. It is.
It's not a bad movie.
It's not
Some
at
of
all.
these have been bad.
No, some of them have been truly bad. This
Yeah.
one is not bad. And so let me be clear. I really did enjoy this movie. At no point was I sitting there bored. At no point was I sitting there upset. I mean, you were dozing off a little bit.
You stayed awake through the whole film.
Yep. But I enjoyed it. I didn't have any major issues with it.
Yeah.
It's just it didn't have the same spark that the animated version had. And you touched on one of the reasons I think that might be, and that's the lead voice performance in the animated.
Yeah.
It's actually really special, I think. I think it works so well. I talked about it feels like casting, you know, the opposite of a Viking, the opposite of what a Viking should be.
Yeah.
And that's why it works so well.
I agree. I think it is. It's probably what makes the original so successful for me. Just I really connect with Hiccup, and I love that performance. And the kid in the reimagine remake, live action remake, he was fine.
Yeah,
but
I would even say
he
was
lacked
good.
that magic.
I agree. And, you know, I'll touch on one other thing too. I think maybe this franchise just lends itself better to animation, anyways. Because I think it's kind of interesting. All of the dragons kind of got, you know, their live action upgrade, you know? They still looked like they did in the animated versions, but they looked real in a way. Like they found a way to mesh them well. I feel like Toothless still looked fully animated to me. Like he didn't look as much like a dragon as these other dragons. And it was this weird in-between version where he felt like less of a character in this live action remake than he did in the animated version. And I watched them back to back. And so they're recreating the exact scenes, right? And I was laying in bed last night and it hit me. I was like, oh yeah, I didn't connect with Toothless the same way I did 2 days ago when I watched the animated version. And I'm wondering why. And I think it has to do with this weird thing where it's like, he still looks like a cartoon dragon when none of the other ones do. And so he's I feel like he's falling in a weird in-between area where it's not as believable. But at the same time, I don't think it would have worked had they made him less animated.
Yeah.
I just don't know that this franchise lends itself well to a live action remake. But they did good. I think almost every performance was at least decent, you know? And I actually think Gerard Butler was somewhat of a scene stiller in this movie. I mean, it wasn't an Oscar-worthy performance, but I thought he did just fine and just good, and he made me laugh a few times, and I like Gerard Butler anyways, so I was happy to have him back. But I can't think of a necessarily bad performance in this movie, out of the main cast at least.
Yeah, I'd agree. I enjoyed it. I thought everybody was good. I think I'm probably going to give it a 2.5. it in a subsequent viewing might get to 3, although I don't know that I ever need to watch it again.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So we're both, you're half a star lower than me on each of the movies
in
we
each
watched.
of the 2 that we saw this weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I'll say is visually, I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
There weren't any standout shots that I thought were bad CGI.
Yeah.
And that would be a concern with a movie like this. This movie is heavily CGI. And I think for the most part, I thought it looked really good.
Yeah. But I mean, the dragons didn't look like Game of Thrones good. They
No,
just,
not even
they
close.
still looked a little cartoonish.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I think they were somewhat going for that too.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were recording together and we got to see 2 movies together. So that was a good combination. Where I think we're looking over over the top of our shoulder. So I don't know. We can high five in the middle. Woo! That probably didn't get.
Probably
didn't
not.
make
But
it.
it's okay.
Yeah, it looked a little weird. And what you don't know is that my laptop died a little bit. So I'm not even ready for my lines. I'm just going off memory here.
Well, we got homework first.
We
quick.
do, yeah.
And I'll show you your lines if you need them.
Thanks. I probably do. At least to remind myself.
Real quick, we'll go over homework.
Yeah.
You gave me Keanu
Yeah.
to watch. The one with the cat, Key
Yeah.
and Peele, and I thought it was funny. I did. There were several parts of this movie that made me laugh quite a bit. Overall, I'm just not huge on comedy personally. Like I rarely will throw on.
No sense of humor.
Maybe not. It's just not a movie that I would regularly throw on because I like a little more substance, I think. But for what it was, it got some good laughs out of me. You know, I thought it was funny and ridiculous and about as ridiculous as you'd expect from a movie with a gangster cat on the front of the poster.
Yeah.
But I liked it. I thought it was good. I don't know that I'll ever feel the need to revisit it, but maybe some clips on YouTube of some of the funnier parts for me. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's kind of one of those films that you can kind of have in the background and
you could.
as that noisy friend that says some funny stuff that you really like. I think it's a really funny film. No, I wanted to give you a palate cleanser, something lighter this week. And so I'm glad you enjoyed it. And, if you don't ever see it again, you don't. But I'm glad you had a little good time.
I did. What'd you watch?
Well, what did I watch? I watched a documentary. You gave me Free Solo.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it as well. I found it interesting. I found myself invested in his journey. I was concerned about what a dick he was to his girlfriend all the time.
Yeah.
Like I felt really bad about that relationship. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. But,
Totally.
And so I found that part a little distracting. But other than that, I enjoyed the film. I would say that, so I gave it a 3 also.
Yeah.
I would say that I don't know that I was as invested as it seems like other people have been.
Yeah.
I remember when this film came out, there was, an Oscar nomination, I think. I don't know if it won it or not, but I think it was definitely got a lot of love. People really, really liked this film a lot. And I don't think it's bad. I didn't find myself as emotionally invested as I would have expected to be, considering the way I've heard this film discussed.
Yeah, no, I don't know that it's so much an emotional investment for me either, just as an amazing human feat happening and it being extremely nerve-wracking for me. Like, I know he's going to make it because I've seen it, but every time I watch it, maybe also with like climbing history myself, my hands are just like streaming sweat because I can't even imagine doing anything.
You can feel the rock.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing anything, like 1% as insane as what he's doing. So, yeah, but fair enough.
Yeah, it was good. Like I said, good recommendation. I'm glad I've seen it. You've given me a few weeks in a row now where you've given me something that's been on my watch list for quite some time. So
there you go.
Good excuse to finally go into that watch list.
Well, I'm going to give you another one right now.
Are you? Okay, we're ready for this week's homework?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The movie I'm giving you is The Place Beyond the Pines.
Okay.
Ryan Gosling.
Yep.
I'm not going to tell you anything else. I didn't know anything about this movie.
Okay.
I knew that it involved bank robbery. That's all I knew. I'll give you that.
Okay.
That's all I knew. I just needed to know Ryan Gosling, and I was invested.
Okay.
And I think that's the best way to watch it. I think the way I watched it might have been the best way to do it. So I'm not going to tell you anything about it.
Okay.
I just want to hear what you think about it.
All right. Well, I think this is written and directed by the same guy that did Drive with him.
I think so.
I liked that movie quite a bit. And so, yeah, I will happily take on the homework.
Awesome.
Your homework this week, if you're ready, you recently watched Psycho, which we were debating about if it had been your first Alfred Hitchcock film, and we think it might have been. So I'm going to give you another Hitchcock film. You're going to watch North by Northwest. This is one of my favorite Hitchcock films. It is very Hitchcock, but it's also a really different tone than Psycho. I'm hoping that you connect with the tone as well, because it's got a little bit more of this like 1950s, early 1960s, but late 1950s aesthetic and temperament, where it's both a little bit, it's charming and funny. It's a little like Hitchcock if he had done like an Ocean's film, kind of a thing. I think Cary Grant, who stars in it, to me is someone that I believe like Clooney emulates Cary Grant, and so I think you'll hopefully enjoy his performance and the rest of the film.
Yeah, it's a catalog I've been meaning to get into for a long time. So I'm excited.
It's one of those that my father walked me through, like movie by movie by movie, and it was
nice.
And Hitchcock himself appears in all of his films in just some small way. A couple times it's like a photo, but most of the time he like literally walks on screen at one point or another. Similar to the way that they would always include Stan Lee.
Okay.
But so it's just like literally like a visual cameo. So it was always a fun thing for me when watching a new Hitchcock film when I was a kid. It was like, how do I spot Alfred Hitchcock?
Yeah.
It's not like it's Where's Waldo or anything. He doesn't hide way in the background. He literally,
Yeah.
But it's a fun little thing that he sort of started,
cool.
and I enjoy finding. So hopefully you'll spot him, and hopefully you continue this journey into Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah. I'll need to look up and see what he looks like first. So.
So you didn't see him in Psycho because you don't even know what he looks like.
I don't even know what he looks like.
Well, look him up. He has a very distinct look.
All right.
Yeah,
I'll do it.
Yeah. So we've ranked, we've debated, we've disagreed. They're not about who shot first. It's just another day in the galaxy.
Yeah. So whether you're Gen X, Gen Z, or somewhere lost in the timeline, please continue to listen, like, share, and subscribe to I Am Your Father.
All right, until the next episode, remember that with great power comes great second breakfast. But winter's also coming, so may the Force live long and prosper with you.
Because we can do this all day.
All right, son.
Peace.
Good to record in person.
Yep.
All right, till next time.